to the last session of the Ashland City Schools EdTech PD 2.0, Gamifying the Classroom. And gamify, I don't think is a word. So
I like it.
yeah, well, I used it because I thought it would be kind of silly, and I'm like, it's more about playing games, so why not? So today we're going to talk all about games, not just video games. We're going to talk about all kinds of games. All right. The first thing that people say usually when we talk about games, they always ask like why. And even as students, like why video games aren't meant to be an education, or you're not meant to play games in school, or those kinds of things. And what I discovered, especially over break, is that I like to play. I really love to play. I play with my kids all the time. We have Nerf battles all the time. We play zombies. I love to play. I love to play video games. I love video games. And so what I discovered was that I think I wanted to find an excuse to play in the classroom. And what I discovered was that I'm apparently not the only one, and probably some of you guys are the same way. So I wanted to figure out how do you integrate this kind of play into your classroom in a way that works, because I thought, like my kids are more engaged like playing than they are pretty much anything else that they do. They're more engaged even than like watching YouTube videos and those kinds of things. So for years, I have looked for places online, like they call them sandboxes, basically like open world games you can have your kids playing, but everyone play together. And for years I looked for this. No joke. I couldn't find anything for what I needed it for. I could find some things, but I had to download them, and then even then they weren't very well developed, and you couldn't have multiple people playing them, and it just didn't work out that well. And so I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of what I've discovered this year and how I'm using it in my classroom. But before we get into that, I guess I want to give you a reason why in the world would you use games in your classroom. And this is the single greatest reason, metacognition. There's lots of research out there about using video games in the classroom, and most of it has happened after 2012. And so there's not a lot of like long-term studies that have been done, because forever, I guess video games in the classroom look like the Oregon Trail. Have you guys played Oregon Trail? Mm-hmm. Loved it. So I love that. Paint, I guess, like, Microsoft Paint or whatever, that, if you can consider that a video game. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, right? Those are like the closest thing that I can think of using video games in the classroom. In Forbes, they had a guy, and I'm going to show you a video of him talking about this. He writes articles for Forbes based around using video games in the classroom. And so what this means, really, what this guy talks about is there's two kinds of eyes when it comes to video games. And when it comes to games, period. There's the eye who's playing the game, which is you, and then there's the I, like the avatar, the character in the game itself. And so what happens is games allow kids to be aware of their own thinking without them actually being aware of their own thinking, right? So if you ask a kid, you need to be, or you tell a kid, you need to be more aware of how it is that you think. Well, they're going to, okay, what does that even mean? Like, how do we even begin to do that? And so what video games do is video games actually train kids to do that. They think about how they're thinking because there's the avatar of them playing the game, which may or may not look like them, usually doesn't, may not even be the same gender, which is fine. And then there's the them who's actually, behind the controller. And so you get these two people, and that allows kids to really be able to think about how they're thinking because they get to control this avatar. And so this is their main reason. And metacognition works in all kinds of other areas, academic skills, spatial reasoning, all kinds of things. It's really actually a fairly complex idea behind this. And so yes, there are lots of fun in the classroom, but they do serve a very real function in a way that pretty much nothing else you do in class is going to do what this does. So the latest stats claim that 1.5 billion people actually play video games. That's video games, not just games, video games. That's 1 out of 5 people on planet Earth play video games. So, yes, 1.5 billion with 2 L's. Yes, people play video games in the world. That's 1 out of 5 people in the world play video games. And the reason why that's important is because video games provide a way for people of different nationalities, belief systems, cultural associations, all kinds of things to come together. Let me give an example. I have a student in class she's from Saudi Arabia. She speaks no English. Well, she can say, "Can I go to the bathroom?" That's it. Otherwise, everything I do, I have to translate into Arabic for her. Okay, I don't speak Arabic. I don't know what I know what it looks like, but I don't even know how it works. So I have to use Google Translate, and Google Docs is a great translation feature that you can use. But she knew how to play Minecraft. And so she was able to join in the class and actually participate for the first time because she didn't have that language barrier. She knew how to play it, even though she's from Saudi Arabia. She played in Saudi Arabia, those kinds of things. So the nice thing about video games is they do have a tendency to kind of bridge some of those barriers, all right? Hopefully I don't have any more spelling errors. So there's basically 3 key points we're going to talk about today. And we're going to play some games in between. I'm going to show you some of the things that I'm kind of doing in class too, so you have an idea of what this looks like. The first thing I want you to take away from this, I guess, is that when it comes to playing in your class, when it comes to playing games, playing video games, playing print games, you have to have an imagination. You have to force your kids to have an imagination too, right? And as adults, I think a lot of times we tend to lose that imagination because we tend to be more practical, rooted in the real world. Like, I don't have time for this, this kind of, silliness and those kinds of things. The nice thing about games is that it gives you an excuse to be silly in class. It gives you an excuse to just to play, really. And what I want to point out is that gaming is about more than video games, okay? And I'm going to show you some examples here in a minute, and we're going to play one of those games. One of the things I discovered over the last year is that I love making games. Not digital games, because I don't know how to code. But I love making games to play in class, because I've seen more entire class aha moments happen from playing games than from anything else I've ever done in class. And so when it comes to using your imagination, when it comes to just being able to play with kids, I think that makes a huge difference, and a huge difference in how they interpret the information themselves. So I thought it was an interesting quote. I love the title of I believe this is the title of the book, The Game Believes in You, How Games Make Our Kids Smarter. I had a debate with a student today about, he said, why are you using Minecraft? That's stupid. Video games are just making kids dumber. So I had this debate with him. I said, do you know what metacognition is? Like, I have no idea. I said, that's exactly why video games make you smarter. And so we kind of talked about it a little bit. But I thought this is very interesting. I'm in the process of trying to create this YouTube video series about using Minecraft in the classroom. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because it would force me to reflect on why I'm doing it. It would force me to kind of better understand Minecraft itself. And as I was doing like a short little video clip today, and as I was doing that, I thought about this exact quote. And I thought about the fact that one of the great things about playing games is it gives you the opportunity to explore a world that you've never been a part of before. I love movies. And the reason I love movies is because I feel like I can be, not a participant, but I feel like I can watch a whole other world that doesn't exist. Right? I love The Walking Dead. And the reason I love it is because it's a whole different world that doesn't exist. But it's kind of fun to be able to quasi kind of play in those worlds. And that's the reason why I think kids play video games for hours and hours and hours, because you get lost in a world that doesn't even exist, which is really kind of cool. Now, if you get the opportunity to create that world for yourself, then the kids get lost in a world that you have at least quasi-created to emphasize some of the themes and some of the things you're trying to learn in class. And so the engagement level is incredibly high. I want to show you this video. This is the gentleman, Jordan Shapiro, had that first quote that I showed you guys about the metacognition. So this is about a 12.5-minute video where he explains that. All right, explains kind of what that means.